Episode 6 of the Good Girl podcast, and I have the fabulous, I'm just going to read your Instagram bio, your fancy friend, part-time decorator, full-time vintage enthusiast, owner of the K-Town Chateau, Natalie Wong. Thank you so much, Natalie, for being here today.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Yes. And guys, thank you for joining. Feel free to leave comments at any point. We'll answer some questions towards the end. But let's go back to that Instagram bio for a second. Mm-hmm. So, is there anything you would like to add to that Instagram bio? Or take out?
Well, I think the fancy friend is kind of more of an inside joke because I've always been a little extra. And so, like, even looking at my house, like, there's just layers and layers of things. So everyone's always like, you're always like overdressed for things. And I mean, I just like being fancy. I've always been like kind of a girly girl.
Let's take a moment for this outfit for a second. So where is this from?
So this is from one of my favorite vintage luxury shops on La Brea called Recess, owned by my friends Marie and Ian. I highly, highly recommend.
Yeah, I've been there with you, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, they have some amazing pieces. So Fancy Friend's going to stay forever on the bio.
Yes.
And then anything else you'd like to add to that bio?
So what a lot of people don't know about me is I actually work at Disney, and I am basically managing an engineering team right now under their technology department. And I was an engineering school dropout. So
really?
My parents are very proud that now I'm back in the engineering realm. But yeah, I went to UCLA and was on the track to become like an engineer. And part of me is like, shoot, because back then I would probably be with some of the early folks who work at Google.
Really?
And probably retired by now. But
wow.
Math and science is like not my thing. So
yeah. Yeah. And you gotta go with your heart, right?
I did.
You gotta go with what your thing is. And we're gonna get to that. So Natalie Wong, are you a good girl?
Yes.
Okay.
Like unabashedly a good girl. I think inherently, I grew up like you, like in a Catholic household. I didn't go through communion or anything, but my cousins all went through private school, and my mom's still Catholic. So I think inherently, I just have a very good moral compass. So that's how I would claim myself as a good girl.
Do you feel like you sometimes, like in the other way, is where you feel like you always have to be doing a certain thing, like to be good? Like, do you feel that way? Or do you feel like you are able to speak your mind and like, not let anyone, you don't have to be a good girl like all the time. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Like, I think especially as I've gotten older, I know when to like step up and say something that is wrong, and to voice my opinion. And I, that gets me in trouble sometimes. But, again, like I just have a good moral sense of compass, or a good moral compass. And when I see something that's not fair, like I like to call it out.
Yeah. And have you always been like that? Or do you feel like, when did you feel like you started to be more like that?
Well, I think when we were kids, being a good girl meant you just kind of stay in your place, and you're this docile, quiet being who like sits in the corner and reads a book. And we weren't told to be outspoken or to say what's on our mind.
Yeah. And did you do that? Did you sit in a corner and read a book for a while?
Oh yeah. I was like shy, like embarrassingly shy. So, like I could not talk to adults. They terrified me.
So when did you feel you found your voice, like as an adult?
I think once I like hit puberty and I was like this awkward looking teenager. Like I had braces for 4 years in high school.
Your teeth are amazing.
Thank you. So I was definitely the ugly duckling. And to compensate for that, I became like more of the personality, like the personality hire, as they would now say in like corporate speak, right?
But in high school, personality friend?
I was a personality friend. So I was always a sidekick to the lead character. But yeah, I think that's when I started being a little bit more outspoken.
Oh, that's good. So not that long, like puberty. It's not like you were like not outspoken until you were like 27, like me. I didn't start speaking for a while. Cool. So, okay, real quick, how we met. So I just want to tell the story of how we met. So,
I love this story.
We were at a birthday party that was on a rooftop where they were doing like hibachi, right? Is that
Yes,
what
it
that is?
was like a private Benihana
Yeah.
experience.
Yeah, and I remember I was with my ex, and then there was this girl next to me, and my ex and this girl were like flirting right in front of me the whole time. And I don't know if you know that part of the story. And then you were sitting across from me, and I was so fed up with the bullshit around me. And then I saw you, and you were like stylish and cool. And then it wasn't until like the end of the dinner where we actually talked. But I was like, who is this person? And then we just became friends, which was, I think, amazing.
Yes, and I think I remember you wearing this really cool, like vintage, like designer wool coat. It was oversized. And I was like, where did you get that? And then you started talking about your like plug, right? You have a dealer.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, my vintage dealer.
Yes.
And I was also wearing a Prada like tunic, but I was wearing it as a dress that I bought at a vintage store in Palm Springs that night. I remember that.
Yes.
So I think that's how we bonded.
Yes, for sure.
Over designer threads.
Vintage designer threads.
Vintage design. So what initially brought you to LA?
I came here for school. So I grew up in the Bay Area, and my parents told me I could go to any college as long as it was within the state of California. And I initially wanted to go to Stanford. That was my dream school. I did not get in. I got denied from Berkeley. My dad was very mad because he's actually a Berkeley alum. And he was even like, we have to appeal. But I had gone into 3 schools in LA, and I saw that as an opportunity to like escape and kind of become independent for once, because I hadn't had like a very sheltered upbringing. And it was as far away as I could get, where I felt like still close enough where I could still like drive home on weekends if I needed to, or like take a plane, but far enough where my parents weren't like hovering over me. So that's how I got to LA. It's been 20 years since I graduated. So
and you just
still here.
stayed.
Yeah, I just stayed.
You never like, you just got an apartment like after college?
I rented an apartment with a couple of girlfriends from college, and then got another apartment with a friend, and then another apartment with a friend. So
wow. Okay. So in a nutshell, how did you get to where you are now career-wise?
So I started working for a lady who produces events for nonprofit organizations. And it was the events were all these like charity galas, right? So she was a fundraising consultant as well as an event producer. So I did that for 6 years, got fired.
Did you do something bad?
Well, she basically accused me of doing something I didn't. And I'm writing a novel about that.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yes. So, I mean, I started writing it during the pandemic, kind of put that on hold, but that is a bucket list item for me, is to tell a story. But, you know, I think it was one of those situations where a lot of people said I got too big for my shoes. And
you did?
Yeah. And, you know, I was working for her for 6 years, and I knew things, and I got outspoken, and I would make recommendations and started really being successful in my own way with her company. And I don't know if she just was threatened by it or just wanted somebody who wasn't as, you know, outspoken.
Do you feel like that happens? I mean, I feel like, sort of happened to me, like in my last job that I was at for 3 years, like once you're there for a longer while, like let's say 3 to 6 years, and you start getting more, you know, like you're doing the job better than them, like at some point. Do you feel like that happens where they just notice that, and then like instead of promoting you or like acknowledging it, they just let you go?
Yeah, I think they feel threatened by somebody who's like less experienced and younger, and there's might be some like resentment involved in that, right? When the student becomes the teacher in a sense. So I don't know.
Yeah. So you're writing a book about that.
I am.
That's exciting.
Yes. So it's set in the Y2K era, which I know
love that.
is super popular right now. So I have to type while the iron is hot and like get this done.
Yeah, that's exciting. So you were working for her for 6 years,
Yes.
and then what? Wow.
So
and then you got fired.
I got fired. It was a recession, bad time to be unemployed. After a while, I got a job doing corporate events and meeting planning for one of the big consulting firms downtown.
Mhm.
And then my career kind of shifted to doing more like marketing, strategy, corporate related events, all for like big companies. So I did that for a number of years. Then the pandemic hit in 2020. I was working for one of the biggest real estate companies in LA, and they laid me off.
Doing marketing and
Yes, doing events and marketing. Events is always the first thing to go from somebody's budget during financial distress, right? So I got let go. I was at my house and became this accidental content creator.
Okay.
And that's how I earned my robust Instagram following now. And
wait, so how do you feel like you popped off on Instagram?
I think just consistency, because you and I were talking about this earlier, right? So like every day there was like a project for me to do. And this wasn't my first time being unemployed or getting laid off. And I think this is the third time I've been laid off or fired. And I used this as an opportunity to like really work on things that were fulfilling to me and to see it as an opportunity to take a break from the universe, right? The universe was telling me like, hey, like we're giving you this opportunity. Like, what are you going to do with this? And with my last layoff, I was in a relationship, and I was like, it was a new relationship. So I used that as an opportunity to like nurture this relationship. And with this last time, I was like, okay, I'm going to focus on me and like my projects and what I want to do with my life. And so one of it was like pursuing my creative side. So like starting a novel, painting every surface of my house, including the ceilings and the floors, and then sharing that on Instagram. People just find me relatable because I would show them like mistakes I made too and screw ups. And, you know, I'm kind of a lazy DIYer, so I don't pursue a DIY with like zeal. You know, it's more like, oh, I guess I have to do it.
I feel like I could relate to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I got, noticed by some like press and reporters and people writing about me. There's like all these, online magazines or blogs where they're like, look at these 10 blue dining rooms. And so that's how I got.
Oh, that's really cool. And they just found you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
So, I mean, this is how people go viral, right? Like, it's just kind of happenstance.
So was there like one video that you feel like really went viral in the beginning, or?
I wouldn't say it was a reel with kind of more like interiors and decor. Like people really like seeing more static photos instead of like videos because they want to like look at that photo and like have that be aspirational, and they like to zoom in and see all the little details, right? And you can't really do that with a video because it's so fast. Like a lot of feedback I get from my videos is it's too fast. But that's how TikTok got popular.
Yeah.
So it depends on your audience. And my audience tends to be more on the like, Gen X and millennial side.
There was a girl that I follow her. She does fashion on Instagram, and she's doing that thing where she's overlapping her audio, like the end of the last audio to the beginning of the next. And it's so much, like it's so fast. And I was just like, I'm too old for this.
It's a lot of work too.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. That blows my mind. Like the trends. So I like this. I like that like you took this time, because I can relate to that. That you took this time to really focus on what you love, which was interiors. So when did you get into that? Like when did you begin to love interior design?
I think I always have. So I really wanted to go to art school, right? And being of Asian descent, being a child of immigrant parents, I went to UCLA with the hope from them that I would graduate as an engineer, like I mentioned before. And I ended up graduating with a degree in communications. And of course, they were like, what are you going to do with that? Become the next Connie Chung? And I'm like, well, no, I don't know what I'm going to do with this. So, I mean, it took me a year to actually find a job. And then I was this like party planner, right? Which didn't really satisfy their requirements either. So my mom was like, why don't you go back to school for art? You were always artistic. And I was like, screw you, Mom. Like,
yeah, why didn't you just let me go to school for art in the
exactly.
first place?
So that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to go to art school to do something, maybe like graphic design. But I've always been like artistic and creative. And so, through how I dress with fashion. Like,
have you always been fashionable?
I was kind of a tomboy in high school, but I liked dressing up. So,
Okay.
yeah, it was this weird dichotomy.
Mm-hmm.
And then now as like an adult, I've like really leaned into like very like pink girly things.
Where do you feel like the vintage enthusiast came from?
So that actually stemmed from, so I bought my little apartment like 8 years ago, and I was house poor. So when you asked me like how I got into interiors, I just kind of fell into it because this place is historic. It was built in the 30s. It has these little architectural elements, right? And so I just started looking at a lot of Pinterest boards, learning more about different styles of decorating, understanding like different decorators and designers, and their aesthetics. And I'm like such a nerd. I like listen to all the design podcasts.
Oh, wow.
So I'm like not, I'm kind of self-taught in a sense. But yeah, I've just always been like, had like an eye for it, like I think you either, you kind of either learn it or you just kind of have it.
Did you used to collage when you were a kid?
Oh yeah, who didn't?
Yeah.
We love a mood board, right?
Yeah, right. I mean, I also like interiors and I collaged a lot as a kid. I think that's like the beginning of like,
like all those magazines we had.
Yeah.
Yep.
I love a good collage. Okay, so then after the pandemic, you started working for Disney.
Yes.
Okay.
So I was hired to be a digital event producer. The recruiters who found me were like, "Oh, you do events. You can be a digital event producer." What they didn't know was that is just kind of this like generic term for somebody in the technology space to describe somebody who's more like an operations or project manager, right? So I wasn't really producing events. I was managing a streaming platform that Disney had built during the pandemic. Had a really great manager and a great boss. My team was awesome. And so I was basically building this streaming application for 3 years.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you learned a lot about?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I learned a lot about like product development, basically. So that's nerd speak for building an application. An application being, like what you have on your phone, the apps.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy that like you did not go to school for that, obviously, because that was not around like necessarily back then, but then you fall into these jobs where you like then learn about it, like in the job. I mean, it just goes to show you that with undergrad, it's like it's never, I mean, sometimes it's going to be, obviously, if you're a doctor, it's going to be kind of what you study, but like, you fall into so many different things and you learn so many different things. Like,
yeah. I mean, I would say that going to college was more to delay going into adulthood, right? I think, I don't know, I struggle with people who like go to law school or get advanced degrees because I'm like, are you just not ready to go into the real world? Which is fine. I think, even as a 25-year-old, I felt like still not ready for the real world.
Yeah. But in that real world experience is where,
yes,
you're going to do the learning.
absolutely.
I mean, I go back and forth. Like I majored in theater. So it's like I enjoy that time. And also I think it's like that time between 18 and like 21, 22, like I think about, oh, what I should have just gone to New York or I should have just gone to LA. But I would have been really young for that. Like, to move to one of those cities at 18 or, and start the industry, like I would have needed parental supervision.
I definitely don't think I had the street smarts to like go right into anything other than advanced schooling when I was 18, 19, right?
Yeah. I mean, the kids who go to school here, like I feel like they're so, I mean, you went to school here, like I feel like they're going to all the bars and clubs like underage and like, I did that a little in Austin, like but it was different. Like here it's like hardcore, I feel like.
But I was a good girl.
But you didn't do that.
My birthday's in February, so I was one of like the earlier girls to turn 21 and be of legal age to actually go to a bar.
Yeah.
And then of course everyone was using my ID to like get into bars.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there were like frat parties and things we would go to, but as far as like going out to like Sunset Boulevard, I didn't really do that until I graduated.
And what was that like?
I mean, if you are a fan of the Hills or, that time when like Paris and Nicole Richie were like out and about, like that whole like paparazzi scene, it was like such a good time to be alive.
Yeah, so, anyone I've talked to that was around for that has the exact, that was like the peak of LA, like nightlife.
Yes. It was kind of like our generation's idea of like Studio 54, I guess.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Did you go out to clubs a lot? Like after college?
Yeah, I was such a club rat in my 20s.
Really? What were you doing?
Just like go to clubs. Like you just go, you wait in lines, you get in, and this was like they had bottle service, but it wasn't like crazy, like if you didn't have a bottle or you didn't know someone who had a bottle, you just waited in line a little bit. You might have paid like a $10 cover and you go in and there's like dancing and, general debauchery. But
what were the spots?
I mean, like Hyde, that was a spot. And the funny thing is with these clubs, it's like every 2 years it would have to have a refresh in order to stay relevant, right? And so like I think Garden of Eden, I don't know what it is now, but it's gone through so many iterations.
Yeah, I've never heard of Garden of Eden. Where was that at?
I think it's on La Brea.
On La Brea.
Yeah.
Okay. For all my club connoisseurs. But I love that historian aspect like of Y2K, like LA Sunset Boulevard, because it is something. It's so it was like the beginning of like it was the end of something and the beginning of something else. Yeah.
It really was.
Yeah. And it's now it's not like that. It's never gonna be like that again, I don't think. I don't know. Maybe it'll become something else.
I don't know. I'm just not hip with it, so I wouldn't know.
Now it's like warehouse, like raves and like, DJ sets, like, but not like club. Like we into club and we're, like it's not like that. Yeah. Although I guess like Bootsy Bellows is still around, kind of. Like, I mean, that wasn't around back then, but it's the version of the club that I think we can all remember from then. But
yeah.
And Hyde is still around, but it's not what it used to be. Obviously, it's like a restaurant and then a lounge.
Yeah, I wouldn't know what to tell you, Bianca, because I'm not part of that world anymore.
No. When did you hang up your club boots? Your boots with the fur?
I mean, I think once I turned 30, I was like, okay, I have to be serious now, because I was dating a lot in my 20s. I didn't have a boyfriend, and so when I turned 30, I was like, okay, I guess I need to settle down now and be in a relationship and find a partner and have kids and have family. So funny enough is I met my boyfriend, my first real boyfriend, I guess, at a bar on Sunset when I was like 30, 31. And then from then on, I've just kind of been in these like long-term relationships, but occasionally in those times I'm not with them, like I'll be dating, but not like aggressively. Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna get into that, and we're gonna get into love and things in just 1 second. Okay, real quick, going back to the career. Okay, where are you at right now in your career? Like, what's going on? Like, how you feeling? What's shaking? What's moving?
I don't think anything's really shaking or moving. Like, I'm just happy to have a paycheck. So thank you, Disney.
Have a job.
It's not exactly what I wanted to do or what I see myself doing, but right now, I am just trying to make the most of it and learning new skills. So, I like the variety in what I'm doing right now. There are days that are longer than others, but I think I'm at a good spot in my career where I can either take this opportunity and continue to run with it, or maybe take a break from it and then revisit, because I still have like a pretty strong network of people I have maintained through the years from the event industry.
Where would you ideally like? What direction would you ideally like to go in?
I mean, I love a really good branding activation,
Oh, okay.
right? So you think about like launches for products
Because
and events and marketing initiatives around those.
that kind of combines everything with the design, the interior design aspect of designing
Yes.
that, and
Yes, very true.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's exciting. And this is the
Mhm.
best place to do that, right? LA?
I would say so. It's probably one of the best places. LA has everything for everyone, I think.
Yeah, because of all the influencers, there's always
Mhm.
the brand partnership
Yes.
events. I mean, I guess in New York too, like, but would you ever move to New York?
I love New York, and I know you lived there for a very short
Oh,
bit,
yeah.
but I couldn't live there unless I was like very wealthy.
I feel like that's what everyone says.
I don't want to like struggle anymore.
Yeah.
I'm too old for that.
I get that. Have you been watching White Lotus?
No, it's on my queue.
There's a
Mhm.
scene that's really good where Parker Posey's talking about she just can't struggle anymore, and I like can relate to that. I feel like a lot of us can.
We need that on the t-shirt.
Yeah. Okay. Moving on to this is good. What is your relationship to money?
So my mom didn't work, so it was a single income family growing up. She was our caretaker. There's three of us, and then my dad was the breadwinner. So we were very middle class, grew up in the Bay Area and the suburbs. Nothing crazy, nothing fancy. My parents are really not fancy people. Like my dad has t-shirts from like the 70s he still wears, which is cool now. But so my relationship with money is that, growing up, my parents were very frugal, but they never made me feel like we were poor or that we were lacking anything. And so I saw money as like a way to make things happen, to be happy, and they say money doesn't buy happiness. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. Like, I like things, I like having things. Money can buy things that make me happy, right? And again, like not having to struggle, like having, being in this place where you're just like financially stable and I'm not living paycheck to paycheck, like that brings joy to me. So, I don't think it's fair to like judge people who are ambitious and who want money and who want wealth.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I have this stand-up. I don't think I know I have the stand-up joke that money doesn't buy happiness because my mom used to always tell me. But then I'm like, that's what poor people say. Like, have you ever heard a rich person say that? Like rich, but obviously rich people have their problems too. But I do think if we could all just have a comfortable wage, where we can all just comfortably live, and obviously things are so expensive right now. Like it is stressful, because I definitely feel stressed when I'm not working or when I'm looking for a job or, I feel like I'm not making enough or, like the stress is real, like the money stress. But I always ask people, do you feel like money comes and goes?
Yes, for sure. I mean, I'm going through a remodel right now, so this is wiping
money's
out.
going.
Like, money is hemorrhaging from all parts of this house.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny because like I've been super stressed recently, like trying to get a new job. And then I did my taxes and I like really wasn't expecting to get money back. And then I got some money back and I was like, money comes and goes. Cause I literally thought I was gonna have to pay. And then I got money back and I was like, it's energy to me. Like, and yeah, sometimes you just have to take a step back and like see what opens up.
Yeah, and I mean, the people who argue that money doesn't buy happiness, you don't need money to be happy. There's ways you can be happy without money.
100%.
And then there are unhappy people with money. So it's like, what do you do with this money, right?
Yeah.
It can make you happy.
Yeah. I always feel like when I have extra money, I am happy because I like doing things for people. Like I like taking my mom on vacation, or I like, paying for being able to pay for the bill. Like, do you know what I'm saying? But when I don't have money, I get stressed and like so, but it is always nice like when you know you're making extra money and then you can do things for other people. I think that's the best part of it.
Well, and it's such like a slippery slope because we have money, now we're spending our money on things that make us happy. We're going to the concerts, we're going to the really fancy restaurants, and we know what money can do and how it can bring us joy. So then all of a sudden when we don't have it, like, does that equate to us not being happy?
Yeah, that's when I hit the parks. I'm like, guys, let's go for a hike.
Yeah.
Let's go to church. Let's do anything free. Let's just
get those endorphins going.
Yeah. Okay, so now it's time for one more question, serious, and then we'll move to fun/serious. Do you ever feel ashamed? Or have you ever felt ashamed?
Yeah, I think you're not really human if you don't feel shame, right? But it's, what do you do with that shame, or how do you cope with it? So I think I have flashes of moments where I feel ashamed, but I don't feel like I'm a very shameful person.
Yeah. Like, can you give an example of something you might feel ashamed of or have felt ashamed of?
Like, okay, maybe this is so superficial, but like going back to money, I think when my friend paid for something. Okay, here's like a really I know we're live, so I have to be careful. I think a friend paid for dinner and then I never paid her back. And it's cool. Like, she never like followed up or asked me, and she's like so giving. So I do have like a twinge of guilt when I like remember that, but now it's gone too far down where I'm not going to be like, hey, that dinner, like, did I pay you for it? Because now I'm like embarrassed.
Yeah.
And then I don't want to make her seem like she's petty either by like bringing it up, because I don't know, like, money's funny, right? When it comes between friends sometimes.
Do you feel like your friend would just be like, oh, it's totally fine, don't worry about it?
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's why I haven't asked her, but then I'm also like, should I be ashamed of that and entitled?
Like, you need to text her right now and see what she says. Yeah, I see that. Like, little bits of thinking or knowing that we may have done the wrong thing, and then we feel guilty about it. The guilt and the shame, of something.
Yeah.
But it's really, your friend more than anyone, and whether or not she's okay with it or not. Who knows? Maybe she's at home right now being like, Natalie never paid me for that soup or whatever it is that you guys
Well, maybe I'll just buy the next round of drinks or something, or the next dinner.
It's I mean, that's funny how, I guess like we could think we know someone, but we don't really know maybe what they're thinking or their relationship to money, like, too.
Yeah. But I think I know her enough where it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
But I don't know, like, maybe I'm like such a good girl.
You're moral conscious.
Yes.
Yeah. No, I get that. Okay. So are you single?
I am not single. I've been dating someone for 7 months now, almost 7 months.
Gosh,
yes.
It's been such a long time.
I know. It's hard to believe, but we met in the wild. We met at a restaurant on his birthday in August. I've been cohabitating with him for the past 2 months while my house is going under a remodel, and it's been a very accelerated relationship, I would say.
Do you feel like you were ready to be in a relationship when you met him?
Yeah. I've been single for a couple of years. I feel like I'm mature as a person, and I was looking for somebody who was also mature. So we're almost the same age. He's like a little bit younger than me. But yeah, like right out of the gate, he was like, "You're special. I'm locked in. Are you locked in? And there was no like second guessing. So I appreciate that about him. He's very straightforward.
I like the whole locked in.
Yes.
Did he
yes.
use those words exactly?
He did. He did. He's kind of a gangster.
Somebody said that to me the other day, like, I'm locked in.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, locked into what? Like, where? Like,
I mean, it could go either way, right? Depending on what your perception is of the situation.
Yeah.
So I think that's an interesting thing with dating and relationships is, everyone, when I was single, or, even now, people are always like asking me for relationship advice or dating advice, really. I can't give relationship advice. I don't think anyone really has great relationship advice unless they've been in a stable relationship for a long time. They could give, I guess, like advice on what not to do, right? But like when I was in my 20s, when I was single, people will always be like, what would you do in this situation? I'm dating this guy. I just met this guy, and there was never a right answer. And that was my answer is every person is different. And if he really likes you and if you really like him, then you will know what to do.
Do you feel like it's best to stay out of your friends' relationships?
Yes, I really do.
Yeah.
I had a friend who came out with us for Valentine's Day, and this was like many years ago. And we're like, oh, where's your boyfriend? And she was like, oh, we broke up. And I was like, oh, screw that guy. Like, you were too good for him. Like, I never liked him. And she was like, yeah, thank you. Well, fast forward, like 8 years, they're married. They're so happy. They have 2 kids together. And I was like, wow. Like, once they were like dating again and they got married, I was like, oh, my shoe tastes really good right now. So you just never know. Like, I think you're insinuating this, just never know like what's happening behind closed doors.
Yeah, no, that's true. Yeah. I mean, I can always tell when the lines are getting crossed sometimes of like, being a good friend, but then also letting people have their, I guess, like autonomy, like they need to figure it out for themselves. Like, and you have to give them the space for that, but then be there for them, like if they need you. But it is hard to navigate sometimes. Like when you see your friend with someone and you see things and you're like, but then, you don't really know what's going on, but you just want to protect your friend.
Yes.
But it's hard.
Yes.
Yeah.
1,000%.
You're just like, yes.
Yes. I understand that completely.
So what has dating been like for you? You kind of said that you at like 30 something, you were like, I need to get married and have kids.
Yes.
So what happened?
What do you mean? What happened?
You don't want kids, right?
Well, no, I did at some point.
Yeah. So when did that change?
Well, okay, maybe I thought I did. Because that's supposed to be what you do, right? That's like the conventional path for like everyone in the society is you find a person and you get married and you have kids. I don't think, but then there are also people who are like, I don't want kids. And I was never that person.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So it just so happened that life just kind of slips away. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, shoot, I think I missed that window where I could have kids. And my friends and I struggle about this now that we're in our 40s. When I turned 40, I was like, okay, we got to meet somebody. Like, this is it. This is my deadline is this year. If I don't meet somebody like right this second and start a family, then the whole life plan that the universe says you should have is not going to happen, right? And then years slipped by. The pandemic happened actually when I turned 40.
Oh gosh.
And that was 5 years ago, so plus. But I have some friends who are a little bit older who don't have kids, and they're like, you go through this grieving process once you get to a certain age of like letting go of this idea.
Did you go through that process?
Oh yeah, I think I've been struggling every year in my 40s. Really? Yes, adulting is so hard.
Yeah, like what part? Like not having the children, or
no? I think it's just this idea of what you are supposed to be, right?
Yeah. What happens at 50? Do you think we're like, fuck it? Like, you know?
No, I think at some point it's the grieving process. The last step is like acceptance, right?
Mhm.
And so I've kind of gotten there, and now I'm just like, okay, I'm just gonna be the cool aunt to like my nieces and my nephew.
Mhm.
Hmm.
What did that grieving process look like or feel like?
I don't know. It was just kind of like sad. I would say I was mostly sad
Oh,
about
interesting.
aging.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Uh,
and you like go out and you see like other couples, and you just feel like resentment.
mm.
Hmm.
Yeah, I can, 40s. I don't know. How do you feel like your 40s have been so far?
I would say like really tumultuous, but like we like there was a pandemic, and then
Yeah.
like all these natural disasters, right? And I don't know if because we're now middle aged,
Mhm.
if the years in front of me are like lessening than the years behind me, you
How were
know?
your 20s and 30s?
I feel like when you're 20s and 30s, you just feel like you have the time to
Mm.
do things, right? And now, like, I know what can happen in 5 years. I know what can happen in 10 years. And so
Mhm.
now that experience and those and that time frame can be kind of like really defined, right?
Mhm. So what are you like do you worry about time?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like our parents are getting older,
Yeah.
Like I know you're spending as much time as you can with your mom these
Yeah.
days.
'Cause she's turning 80.
Hmm.
How old are your parents?
They're in their early 70s.
Oh, wow, your parents are young.
Well, I know your mom had you when she
She
was
was
40,
41.
yes.
Yeah.
My mom and dad had me when they were actually, like, a little bit older. My mom was, like, 28,
Okay.
which was, like, unheard of
Yeah.
for that generation. Like, your mom is, like,
I don't know what
a
happened with her.
pioneer.
Yeah. Back in
For
1945, yeah.
geriatric pregnancy,
I
she's a
know.
pioneer.
Yeah. Wow. Okay, so dating for you, you were in some serious okay. In your 30s, you wanted to get married, have kids, but then that didn't work with those people. It just didn't work out.
Yes.
And then I can relate to that.
Mhm.
I feel like I was engaged at 27.
Right.
I don't know why. And then
Mhm.
dated a couple guys in my 30s, like in 2-year relationship,
Right. Yes.
and like didn't work out. And now I'm turning 40 in August, and like I feel that. I feel like I don't know what's going to happen. And now I'm really interested about this grieving process that may
Mhm.
occur. um, because I was really looking forward to, because my 30s, that was my pandemic era. And I had a lot of like weird health issues, like my back, and
Mhm.
I just had really bad anxiety and depression. I was just going through a really tough time in my 30s. So I was looking forward to my 40s of being like, you know what, I'm just gonna say fuck it and be free, and whatever happens, happens. If I don't have kids, I don't have kids. If I
Mhm.
have kids, great. If I can afford it, I'll adopt. I don't know, who knows? But I'm just like, yeah, I'm just tired of being sad, honestly.
I wanna say once I turned 38, you're officially in your upper 30s, right? I think when
Mhm.
I was in 37, I was like, "I'm still in my mid-30s."
Yeah, for sure.
When I turned 38, that's when I think I hit the "uh-oh"
Mm,
moment, and I could tell that my body just wasn't responding as well to, like, diet and exercise, and,
mhm.
like, things about me physically were changing.
Uh-huh.
So,
You
um
look so
oh,
young.
thank you. Well, so do you.
Yeah, I mean, I don't
It's
know,
because we
like,
don't have kids.
I mean, honestly, I think that is a big part of it. Like, I do think that, but yeah, okay, this is interesting. I feel like we're getting somewhere. What's a red flag for you?
Um, I think people who are unkind to servers and people in hospitality
Mhm.
is it's kind of a red flag to me because it's like, how can you treat a stranger like that, right?
Yeah.
And then if you're so flippant about treating somebody you don't even know like that, like how do you treat people who you do know very well?
Yeah. Yeah. Have you been around a lot of people like that, or dated people or friends with people who were like that?
Um, No, but like I've seen it happen,
Yeah.
like maybe another couple on a date and the guy's just really rude. And
Do you worry about your friend if she's dating him? That he's really rude
oh
and
no,
stuff?
no, no, like if I'm just out and about,
Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
or sometimes you might see a friend's partner being rude, and it's quick to judge. But again, what we're saying about you know being a little bit more open minded about others' relationships.
Yeah. Yeah. I dated a guy who was terrible with Uber drivers
Mm-hmm.
and people who worked in stores and in the end he was terrible to me like too. So it's
Mm-hmm.
like, but he always was nice to people who were important,
Mm-hmm.
you know. Um
Or who could
so
do something for him. You mean?
100%.
Yeah.
Or he knew that he could do something for them, but they may need him one day,
Mm-hmm.
like that important power
Yeah.
dynamic. Um,
That's so manipulative.
yeah.
I think that would be a red flag for me.
Oh yeah, it is. What's a green flag? What's something that you really are like, yes, that's good.
um, my guy has a sense of servitude.
Mm.
So he's all about opening doors for me. He
Oh.
pays for all the things. I occasionally will buy a meal. Like he allows me to like pay for a meal here and there. Um, but he'll ask me if I want a cup of tea in the morning. He cooks, he bakes. I initially when I moved in with him, I was like, okay, like I want to contribute and I'm gonna like wash the dishes and like help sweep and stuff. And initially he was like, no, 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 don't do that. You're here as a guest. But yeah, now we're going on 8 weeks, and he's like, yes, please wash my socks and do the laundry.
Aw, that's so sweet. Where do you think he gets that from? Like that wanting to be so kind and sweet and pay for things and yeah.
I don't know, like his dad was in the military. So I really like military men and how the chivalry
Mhm.
involved with a guy who was in the military. I had a friend who walks on the street side of the
Yes.
sidewalk. I love that. That's such a
Yes.
green flag for me. Like I didn't really understand that because I think being women of our generation, like we were told like you can do anything a man can do. Like,
Mhm.
you can be an astronaut. You should be paying for things yourself. You don't need a man to do things. And that kind of brainwashed us a little bit
Mm.
because then that kind of like screwed up like how our male peers, then treat us because they're like, what do we do? What do we do? Do we go Dutch with the bill?
Mhm.
And I'm not making excuses for men who don't show up and can't pay for things.
Mhm.
Um, but, I think like I've talked to other girlfriends about this. And, it's like even holding the door open.
Yeah,
Like,
that's free. That doesn't cost a
like
thing.
we no, but we were told
Yeah.
like you can hold the door open. Like you should hold open the door. Like it was always like bring your daughter to school day. And, I think we were kind of like elevated to do things a certain way, and being a homemaker and not being a career woman was kind of like shunned at some point.
Mhm.
We overcorrected, I think, as females,
Mhm.
and I want to allow guys to be able to like open the door without feeling that like we're gonna yell at them and be like aggressively feminist and say like I can open the door.
I don't know about you, but I'm tired. I don't have strength to open the
Yes.
door. You open that
Yes,
door.
I
Like
know.
all
I
I can
agree.
do is walk through it.
Yeah.
Like I'm dressed and I'm
Yeah.
not touching anything.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. I'm like, and I have friends who are like not embarrassed. They're like, yes, we like um we do the hair, we do the makeup, we're spending money on like our hair and nails. Like every time I show up for a date, it costs me already $100.
For sure. I feel like I've dated people who it's interesting, who I knew weren't making a lot of money, but they were givers. They
Mm-hmm.
love to give.
Mm-hmm.
They love to give me the gifts that I had my eye on, and they would go get it. And it wouldn't be one gift, it'd be 3 gifts, So that was their nature. And then I've dated people who we were kind of making the same amount of money, and we did end up living together, and we split everything. We always split everything. And that didn't really bother me for some reason. But if I know that a man is making a shit ton of money and I'm not, like, you know, at the moment, I feel like they should pay. Like, you know, like it's the least they could do as like a, I don't know, write it off as a charity. I don't care. Like, do you know what I'm saying? Like,
I mean, if the guy is asking you out, he's inviting you. Like, and I know this makes us seem a little entitled to say as women, but like, you know, an invitation means he's offering to spend time with you and pay for your meal, right?
yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. Like that for sure. But I guess I'm also thinking about like other things. So I I do like gifts. Like I feel like that's one of my love languages.
Yeah.
My dad gave me gifts growing up. I love receiving gifts. And I'm thinking about the one guy who would go get me I remember for Christmas, I specifically was like, I want a pair, this was a while ago. I want a pair of Uggs and I want like Tom Ford perfume and he like went and got every exact thing that I wanted plus a piece of jewelry. And it was just like, oh, like that feels so nice. And then I've dated guys who I will be out with them and we will be like shopping and they'll see that I love something. Like I love this pair of shoes and they can just see it in my eyes. And when they see it in my eyes, they walk away because they don't want to buy it for me. Do you know what I'm saying? And then we'll go to a store for them and they'll be like, I don't really need anything, but I'm going to get $1,000 worth of stuff. Like because they can, because it's their money. I've dated 2 men like this. Who
I'm in that chapter in your memoir.
Oh, yeah. I've dated 2 men like this who could afford to give me gifts and saw the look in my eye because we like fashion. We like pretty things.
Yes.
Like, you know, but I don't go shopping all the time. But when I'm out and I see something that I'm like, you know, like I think if a guy sees a woman have that moment and they can afford to do it, just make her happy. Make her happy.
I don't know what it is. You might want to poll your male friends about this.
I mean, I know what it is. So one of the guys I dated that was doing this, who I wrote about in the book, which probably is the chapter you're on, he had an issue. It's usually an issue with a previous woman that he dated. Because I've dated a few men who felt like they were used by women, that women were just using them to go out to dinner or to go buy things for them and didn't really like them for them, you know? And I get that. No one likes to feel used.
Yeah.
One of the people I dated that was doing this, I genuinely loved him. Like I loved him and you know, it's not like I was using him, but I just noticed that about him. And then the other one, we were still kind of in our early dating stages, but I was still making up my mind about him. And when that happened, I just was like, no, like, I just don't, I want to be with someone who's a giver, who loves to give, you know, because I love to give. If I could, I would, you know? So anyway, enough about me.
But do you feel like they presented themselves in other ways with the love languages where they're giving love in other ways?
So I feel like the one guy that I wrote about in the book, which by the way I ran into at a bar on Friday night.
Ooh, juicy.
Yeah, he read the book for sure because he was very short with me.
Okay.
And then another guy I write about in the book, he texted me that he read the book. Noah, the guy who's Noah, he texted me that he read the book and that he loved it, actually, which I thought was interesting. Anyway, so we were talking about, what was that question you just about the Simon character? If now our old brains are not going to be able to remember.
Dang, we went on a little tangent there. Huh?
Oh, I don't know. I don't remember like that.
Do you feel like they were givers in other ways?
Oh, givers in other ways. I feel like the guy I wrote about in the book, he gave if it was a shared experience. Like if he was involved in it too. Like I noticed that.
So it wasn't really a gift for you.
No, it was a gift for
like
something we could
The
do together.
collective you.
Yeah, but it wasn't. He never gave me anything that was just for me. Everything was he was involved in that
Interesting.
as well. That's just something that I noticed.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, that's the whole point. Like when it comes around for the holidays and it's gift giving, you want to give your friend that really nice candle that they would never buy for themselves for them to enjoy it. You know, like that's the point of a gift. Okay, this is good. What's something that really gets your blood boiling? Because apparently for me, it's not being gifted things.
Yes, you're on one. I think undeserved nepotism really grinds my gears when they're unqualified and they might get that promotion at work, right? Like people who fail up because of the circumstances.
Do you feel like you see that a lot in the jobs that you've been in?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I see nepotism where it's not necessarily like a family, but like, oh, she was friends with somebody and all of a sudden she promoted to VP, but like talks like a baby, you know?
Oh, really?
It's like, how did that happen? Or, you know, we had no choice but to promote her because there was nobody else to promote. Just circumstances.
And you feel like it's nepotism. You can see that
it's a little bit of favoritism and nepotism. So that's what's getting me hot under the collar these days.
Hot under the collar. Okay, what's something that you struggle with?
I think right now it's just the whole adulting, right? So I feel like it's one thing after another. Where it's like, oh, I have to help my parents like get themselves set up for, you know, post-retirement, like help them make decisions about their future, decisions about my financial future. They don't write handbooks or playbooks about this, right? About aging. Like I think somebody made this comment about like Sex in the City, and you see them go through all these like trials and tribulations, but rarely do they ever talk about like their parents or their aging parents.
I know that there's only one scene where Miranda's father dies, I think, in like all of Sex in the City that they talk
like
about
the
parents.
8 seasons or whatever it was.
That was my biggest problem actually with Sex in the City. And I always tell people like with Good Girl, I'm like, it's like Sex in the City, but then I also talk about family. But sometimes I guess with Sex in the City, maybe they just wanted an escape from all of that because once you get into family, it gets really real.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true. They never talked about 9/11.
Oh, interesting. That is interesting.
Yeah, I think I was listening to a podcast about that, and the writers deliberately avoided it because they wanted it to be an escape.
Yeah.
So
it's funny because with Just Like That, it was like the first season was rough because they were just commenting on everything that happens, like, you know, being woke and like, you know, like it was too over the top.
Yes.
They commented on things too much. And then I think with season 2, they were like, okay, let's pull back a little and just kind of get back to those roots of having fun, but they are dealing with more serious stuff and Just Like That, like aging and death and
Well, I mean, they have to because they're all older, so you can't not see it or like, you know, they can't just be shopping for shoes and having brunch all the time.
But what if they were?
It would be a very boring show, right? Well, I guess what kind of problems would like a 50-year-old have?
A rich 50-year-old.
Yeah.
Because Carrie's rich now. Carrie's got that big money.
She got that big money.
But she doesn't have big. Isn't it sad that he died?
I did not like that.
Yeah, in the very beginning.
Yes.
Give us one season with Big.
Yeah.
They could have done that.
They could have done that.
Yeah.
Ew.
They just killed him.
That made my blood boil.
He's so good. What is it? Chris Noth?
Chris Noth,
Love him. I like Aiden, but I've always been a big fan. Okay, so what are you wanting more of in life right now?
Money.
Yeah.
I think just I feel like I need not a crystal ball per se, but a little sense of direction and
Mhm.
where things are headed. I think, you know, since the pandemic, everyone's using that word uncertainty quite liberally. And I think mm, being of middle age, because now in corporate HR speak, when you're 40, you're in a protected class.
Interesting.
Yes. So they have to be very deliberate about who they're laying off or firing because now we're in the same class as like someone who's disabled.
Wow.
Yes. Yes. Or like pregnant, you know.
Mhm.
Hmm. I know. It's
That's
crazy.
wild.
Yes.
I have a friend works in a different industry, entertainment, and I heard her describe someone as a dinosaur.
And
And
she was like 40.
uh,
How old was a dinosaur?
they were old,
Okay.
but I thought that was so interesting because, like, to me, I'm like, they're older and wiser, and like, but in entertainment, they're if you're not like a VP or a partner at the head of the company, if you're still doing sort of like
Mm,
you're considered to just be a dinosaur. I thought that was interesting how like they're unless you're like high up,
yeah.
you're kind of
Well,
out.
so here's the thing is um my girlfriends also talk about this because they're very career focused and career minded. At some point, there's only so many director level and above jobs, right? And so some people have to be resigned to being like a manager or like not even a manager um, for the rest of their career because in order for them to advance, they have to either like jump to another company and get that promotion that they should have gotten from their years of tenure, but they can't because there's only so many of those roles available.
Yeah. I went out on a date with this real asshole one time, but he did say he works at Sony and he was like, "Yeah, if you don't make it to here by this time,
Hmm.
it's like that's it."
Yeah.
And I think there is truth to that when
Hmm.
you're in that world of like, yeah, you got to be VP if you're ever going to be president. And
Hmm.
if you're not here by then you didn't make it.
Hmm.
I'm sure you go find another something or another, but as far as those high level positions, like
Hmm.
there is like a timeline,
Yeah.
which is scary. I always envision CEOs and heads of things to just be old. Like I never knew it was like that, but I guess like they have been lined up through
Hmm.
all the other things. And no one down here is just going to get that.
Yeah, I mean, some people are groomed if they see that you could be a good leader or again, nepotism, you
Mhm.
know? So, but there are only so many VP roles. So
Yeah.
what does everyone else do who is not on track to be a VP, right? You're just stuck
Yeah.
down here.
What do they do?
They're stuck. They become the dinosaurs.
Yeah. I feel like that's got to be really hard. Like, yeah,
Hmm.
kind of just being like, well, I like that kind of actually like because of me, like with acting, I'm always like, am I ever gonna like make it or am I ever gonna do it? And I guess it's like that with everyone. Everyone is like, am I ever gonna make it?
Well, I once dated an actor slash waiter slash realtor, LA, and he was pretty successful as a commercial actor, um, but he had like his that guy from Mad Men,
John Hamm.
John Hamm face,
Ah,
where he was just like, John Hamm did not make it until he was 40.
that's true.
So Bianca, there is still hope for you.
Yeah, I actually had a meeting with a publicist today, and I really wanted to ask her what she feels like the climate is for older women in Hollywood right now.
I mean, I think the climate is really good. You see a lot of like shows like the Swans, right? On FX.
Okay. Yeah.
It was like Diane Lane and like Callista Flockhart
But
and
those are all pretty big names.
Demi
Like that's the
Moore.
thing. Like they're
But I
like
think
huge.
I'm hoping that showing that age range
Yeah,
will trickle down
for sure.
for other, creative projects where it's okay to like cast and like write about older women.
Yeah.
Because now we're seeing that reverse thing where I think it was Nicole Kidman and Anne Hathaway who were in like films where they're dating much younger
Both
guys.
amazing films. I've watched them. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love them. I'm all about that.
Nicole Kidman was in 2, right?
Mm-hmm.
One with Zac Efron.
Oh, that was so good.
And then that one, the baby girl.
Oh my God. Again, I'm like, maybe this is my thing. It's like.
Yeah. So John Hamm was saying he could never make it as an actor until he was older because he has an old face, right? Even when he was like 20, he was not getting cast in like Dawson's Creek. Like, because he didn't have that baby face that like Joshua Jackson and James Vanderbeek. They were 25, but they looked like they could kind of pass their like high school.
I want to look up a picture of 25-year-old John Hamm to see his old man face.
But older man, like a mature man.
But face. I will say he was destined for that role in Mad Men. Yeah. Like he's Don Draper. Yeah. We would have never had that cultural moment if it wasn't for him. And also that moment was so important for television too. Like, yeah. What happened to AMC? Like, what happened to AMC?
I could tell you. Well, I could have my friend tell you.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, but because, I mean, like, I think I watched some of The Sopranos. I didn't watch The Wire, but like HBO obviously was a pioneer for television. But then AMC, like, I don't know if it's because I like that era of Mad Men, and then I got to work on the next show that was, also in the 80s, but same quality, like talk about interior design and like props and like a period, like the level of detail, like on those shows, like I, as an actor, like with costumes and props, you are in the world, which feels like a magical place to be in. And I don't know what happened to AMC. Like I feel like
they had Breaking Bad.
Which was different, yeah.
And then they had The Walking Dead. So
also different. Yeah.
Very different.
Yeah.
But
those paid for shows like Mad Men. Although Mad Men made a good amount of money, but also cost a lot of money to make. But I feel like it was sort of beginning to be known to do these like amazing period piece type stuff. And then something just changed, I guess. I don't know. Maybe the culture just shifted and people were like, we want White Lotus, which happens.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you look at television and pop culture, like we go through these cycles, right?
Yeah.
So it's like all of a sudden these shows about older women with younger men is like popular.
Oh my God, so many of them this past year. Yeah.
Or is it just that one that makes it, and then all of a sudden other production companies are like, wait, we have something like that?
I think sometimes there is something that happens in the zeitgeist where kind of like people are working on similar things at the same time and they just so happen to come out at the same time. But then obviously I do think when something becomes popular, someone's like, make more of this,
Yes, like the Hallmark movies, right?
Oh my God, the Christmas movies. What are your thoughts on Hallmark Christmas movies and Lifetime movies? Are there too many? Do we need more?
We need more. There can never be enough. Like it's like ambient noise for me. Like I love the formulaic plot line. Like yes, the meet cute. Yeah. There's a conflict with a snowman or like something.
Someone's
like
losing
Christmas
a business.
Tree. Yes.
Yeah.
And then at the end, they have a very like cute moment where they come together and they kiss once and the film's over and that's it. And you're very satisfied.
No sex.
No,
they have no genitals. They are Barbie dolls. Yeah. And I guess we do need like 30 of them at least, one for every day of December.
We do.
Um,
From each studio or
honestly,
streaming platform.
we could start watching them in November, so we might need 60 of them. I don't know.
Yeah.
It depends.
And they're like seasonal. So like even in like obviously February they do a lot of Valentine's Day programming.
Wait, I have a funny story. So
Yes.
I was watching the Lindsay Lohan one from last year. I don't remember what it's called, but then I started watching another one like around Christmas time, a Lindsay Lohan one, and like halfway through I was like, I'm watching this. This isn't even about Christmas. She's just in Ireland. Like,
yes. Oh yeah,
like
that was supposed to be her big comeback.
I thought I was watching a Christmas movie because I thought they were all just Christmas movies, and then I was like, wait, she's just at a wedding in Ireland and hit her head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that
Great
one was
one.
bad. That's so good.
You just get sucked into it. Okay, so did I ask you what are you? Okay, you're wanting more money right now. What are you wanting more of? What inspires you?
Like design wise, like just a good design, color, patterns, textures. I love seeing what other designers are doing, right? I mean, I think just being out and like looking at things and being curious, like there's always something inspirational about what you see every day, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Like, but maybe that's just me being like an Aquarius.
What is that? What is that for Aquarius? What are Aquarius?
We're supposed to be like a little quirky, creative. Mercurial is usually the word that they use. So I can, when you ask me for before, like, are you ever ashamed of anything? Like we're not like Scorpios. We're like very like fiery. I think it's more like we're adaptable, and I might be upset about something, and then in 5 minutes I'll be like, no big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's nice. You're passionate, but also laid back.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's nice quality to have. Okay, so what are your female friendships like right now?
Very lovely, I would say. I have some friends that I've known since we were in college or even since high school. So like I've known these women like over half of my life, and I would consider them more like sisters at this point. I have a friend who lives in Pasadena, like 20 minutes away, and I see her like once every 2 years, like in person.
Oh, wow.
She had a baby and I didn't even know about it for like a year. So, but she'll call me and she'll be like, Natalie, my parents need help. Like I need who can I call who's a caretaker? And then we'll just like troubleshoot, catch up. And then like I haven't talked to her in like months.
Yeah.
That reminds me I do need to check in on her, but there's no sense of resentment for not checking in. Nice. And that's what I appreciate about the older friendships I have, which is, you can not see each other for months and months. And then when you do see each other, it's like you pick up where you left off.
Yeah.
And there's just that like sense of love and like care.
I love that. Yeah. I had a question for you, and now I've already forgotten. Really not on my A game tonight, like trying to remember things. So what are the hardest parts of being a good friend?
I think when you're going through a lot of turmoil and they're going through a lot of turmoil, like I'm such a giver, like I don't put myself first sometimes. And so I have friends who are the same way. Actually, like my partner now, we're both givers, and we tend to be like over accommodating to each other and to others, but we're not putting ourselves or our relationship first. And then that causes a little bit of friction.
Like in what way?
Like simply like, do you want to go get another drink? I don't know. Do you want to go get another drink? And it's like, no, you decide. And I'm like, well, I don't really care. Like, you decide. What do you want to do?
That's just
you
being
know?
a couple.
Yeah, that's that too. But I mean, maybe that's a simplified
Yeah.
way of, when you come to this like standstill,
Uh-huh.
right? It's like, who's going to be not the more selfish person, but who's
The more dominant person, I feel like.
yeah,
Yeah.
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 Because and then when you do step over the line and say like, okay, I'm going to make the decision,
Mhm.
um, then I feel like, oh no, am I hurting that person's feelings by not putting their feelings in front of me,
Mhm.
and giving them the space to do what they want to do.
Are you talking about in a relationship or a friendship?
I think
Or
both. I think
both,
like a
yeah.
relationship and like a friendship is a
Yeah,
relationship, right?
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I feel that. I really feel that actually that a friendship is a relationship
Yeah.
because I feel like, and I've talked about this a little bit on the podcast in another episode, that I feel like sometimes friends don't want to go through the growth and the
Mhm.
pain that is involved in a relationship. And that's where you stop being friends with someone.
Mhm.
Because, it's nice that you have your childhood friends. I have those too, where we rarely fight about anything.
Mhm.
We never have, like, and, but then sometimes here, in LA, when you make friends as an adult, there's going to be things that come up that might rub you the wrong way. And if you feel like you can really talk to your friend about it and
Mhm.
like,
Yes.
and continue on the friendship, like,
Mhm.
because some people are like, I've got way too much going on. I don't have time to be in a relationship with you.
Mhm.
Like, this is a friendship. And
Yeah.
I'm like, isn't that the same thing? But to some people, it's not. It's just
Mhm.
surface level friends. We go out, we have fun.
Mhm.
Don't come to me with like any serious problems.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was very prevalent in my 20s
Mhm.
is, my friend called them your party friends.
Yeah.
You're like, "Oh, I just need like a buddy or a companion to like go out with or go on a trip with." Um, but then it's kind of like a take it or leave it situation you when somebody needs something from the other
Yeah.
person, like whether that be like empathy or like getting through a tough time.
Yeah. Like, can you imagine getting a flat tire and calling your party friend, and your party friend is like, "Why are you calling me?" Like,
Mhm.
no.
Yeah.
And you're like, "Sorry, I'll see you on Friday." Like,
Right.
how do you move
Yeah.
forward from that?
Yeah.
Because you kind of know they're not going to show up for you in that way.
Yeah. But then also vice versa, because at some point you realize, do you want to be spending your time with this person? And it could be the opposite way where they're like the ones with the flat tire. And if you're like, ugh,
I feel like they
right?
always call me and I always show up. I just don't think it goes both ways.
So you're the good friend, but then so you don't feel like there was ever a person in your life where you felt like you didn't need them as a friend.
I felt like I didn't need them as a friend when I started to feel like I wasn't being valued.
Mhm. Mhm.
Like, I feel, or that they didn't really like me, because
Mhm.
I feel like I've had a few female friends where in the end it was sort of revealed that they couldn't stand me,
Mhm.
and I'm like, well, why are you around me? Why do
Mhm.
you want to hang out with me? Why don't you just tell me and we don't
Mhm.
have to be friends?
Mhm.
Like, if you really don't like me.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, female friendship is fascinating.
Yeah.
Um,
I went through after my first breakup, um, it was devastating, obviously. But I remember I had a couple of girls who lived close by, and they were kind of more like the convenient friends,
mhm.
like proximity wise. It
Oh
was like,
yeah.
oh yeah, let's have dinner. Like, oh, let's go for a walk. So as a result, we became friends, and then they stuck with me during the breakup, but then they just kind of like disappeared.
Mhm.
So it was almost like I was too much,
Mm.
um, which is fine because I mean that's like if you're not gonna stay my friend after I go through a hard time, then I don't want to be your friend.
Yeah. Yeah. I get it. Like sometimes people, I always say they just can't hold space. They can't, maybe they're not in a place, maybe they just don't want to do that. But I feel like for me, it's like I do look at it as a relationship. Like, is this long term or short term? And like, am I looking for long term friends or short term friends? And I feel like with everyone, like, of course, I want to have fun, like in the moment, but I also, it's sad when you kind of invest time into a friendship that ends up not, and then you don't even know how they are anymore. I mean, it's one thing I think with the romantic breakup, because obviously you were looking for romance and it didn't work out. But with friends, it's like you're friends.
Yeah.
Like, if it works or not. Like, but I think it's timing, right? If you're not in the right headspace. Okay. We're going to do a few more questions, then we're going to wrap up. So what's the hardest? Okay, we already did that. What are your goals in life?
I mean, I would like to retire when I'm like 60, 65, like a normal person historically was able to, right? Like I just don't want to have to like struggle or hustle after a certain point, So, I mean, just getting myself into a really financially stable place. I want to be able to travel more, like really just enjoy like my golden years.
Yeah. Yeah. Have you always been planning for retirement?
I can't say I'm like the best at it. But like I think about it a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Any regrets?
If they are regrets, they're very superficial. Like I like can't say I regret like not dating a person or like breaking up with him, but I have some like small regrets like like in college like I wish I had traveled abroad or like studied abroad.
You're the second person to say that. It's so interesting.
Yeah.
So what do you feel like you missed out in study abroad that you can't just go take a trip now?
I think it's a little different when you're like a student, because like there's really no strings attached.
Yeah.
And there's like, it's very low stakes.
Would you have done a whole semester or just a summer abroad?
Oh, that's a good question. I think I would have done a semester.
Oh, wow. Where would you have wanted to go?
So I actually minored in French. Yes, I minored in French.
That language from France.
Yes, that language in France. And a lot of my classmates did study abroad and they came back and they were like more fluent, like I can read it and write it. I used to be able to read it and write it decently, but like speaking it was always challenging.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so I never thought of that aspect. I studied abroad in London because I was doing theater. So that was really nice to see all that. But I didn't understand that people want to go learn the language somewhere,
Yes.
like that they're studying. So I could see why that would be so important. Or like I've heard like study abroad in Florence is really nice because there's so much art and culture in Florence. So something like that, if someone's like a art major, it's like,
oh my gosh, they need to have like an adult program.
I know, right? Should we start an adult study abroad in Florence?
Yes, we need to look into this. We need to investigate.
For middle-aged women to go study abroad. I think there's a market for it. Okay. What do you want to manifest right now? Like, what do you want to call into your life? Like, we are on this live with these people, and what would you like to put out there?
Basically everything I'm working towards, right? So like again, the financial stability, but what does that look like? I definitely like have a path, right? So I'm in a good job that pays me decent for what I do. Continue to just be like mindful about my spending. But then also being able to like enjoy experiences, enjoy like spending money, not be guilty about spending money. I really want to have my book published in the next 2 years. I told myself I'd do it by the time I turn like 42, but now,
Well, get it done.
I know.
Are you done? Like, where are you at writing it?
I have an outline. I started writing chapters here and there. I don't even know what it looks like if I were to cobble it all together right now. But I just need to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like with anything, you start doing it, and once you start doing it and make it a habit, you finish it. That's how you get anything done, you know? So it's like just do 10 pages a night, and then the next night you might feel inspired and you'll get 20 pages.
Yeah.
You know?
I
But
know.
creating that habit.
Yes. I know.
It's like anything. If I stop working out, I stop working out.
Yeah.
You know, and then it's like I got to get back into it. And then when I get back into it, I'm like, oh, this feels so good. Why did I ever stop?
Getting the momentum back is always hard.
Yeah. Okay. There was a question from Instagram. So, what artist or designer inspires your work, and where do you get inspo from? We kind of answered that earlier, but are there particular like designers or artists that you really get inspired by?
Okay, this is gonna sound really funny, but like I am such a Taylor Swift stan. And not just because, her songs are catchy, but I think just the way she has presented herself to the world and how she became this basically like a self-made billionaire.
Yeah.
She has such great business savvy. I mean, she started as she grew up in Pennsylvania. Her parents moved her to Nashville, and she started writing songs and singing songs. And she's like, some would argue, like, she doesn't even have the best voice, but she has a talent for songwriting and sharing a narrative, and then like continuing to weave that narrative with other narratives, to the point where it's like, it's like the Marvel universe, right? Now it's like there's a Taylor Swift universe of all her like discography and how she's integrating her personal life into her songwriting.
I mean, I think that's her signature. Yeah. Like it's like, which is interesting because I think for songwriting, obviously there's plenty of artists out there who obviously sing about their personal life, but it's interesting because when I was writing Good Girl, people were like, or writing screenplays or TV shows, they're like, you're writing about your personal life, like, don't you want to make up a character and write something else? And so I feel like I do think of Taylor Swift actually when people tell me that. I'm like, look at Taylor Swift. Look what she's doing.
Yes.
And look how much money she's made. And she's just singing about her ex-boyfriends.
Yes.
But it's so relatable. And she is talented. Yeah. So you feel like you get inspiration from her business savvy.
I think she's very aspirational, right? So as far as inspiration, I mean, every designer will always say like Kelly Wearstler is like an inspiration because like most of the decor in my house is based on what I've seen her do at like the Viceroy and her property in Palm Springs. But then like 5 or 6 years ago, she like totally pivoted to this completely different style, and people are still like very inspired and like drawn to it. Like the Proper Hotel in Santa Monica, it was like best design hotel like in 2020, whatever. But the style is completely different from what she's done before.
Yeah, she kind of really honed in on that California like aesthetic. I feel like kind of those neutrals and like
the earthiness.
Yeah, she just exudes like Malibu, like that woman.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if it's like her hair or like her house in Malibu, but like I just envision like a piece of driftwood, like driftwood and like cream.
Yeah. Well, and even how she dresses too.
Yeah. She's very stylish. I mean, she is like decked in like all designer.
Yeah.
Like, all the time.
Yeah. So those two women, I feel like, are good aspirational points for me.
Good. Okay. Well, thank you so much for being a guest and for sharing a little bit about yourself. And let's we can't wait to read this novel. Is there a title for the novel?
No, not yet.
Untitled Natalie Wong novel.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
But
all right. Well, we're gonna also be sure to. This is something I have to remind myself. Be sure to follow Natalie on Instagram. What is your handle again?
it's at LA Girl 310.
Okay.
So it's a very Y2K like handle. Everyone's like, "How did you get that?" I'm like, "I don't know."
That's so funny.
I got it, and now I can't, give it up because people
It's
love
gonna
it so
go
much.
with the book. That should be the title of the book, LA Girl 310.
Oh, maybe.
I mean, I don't know if a number, but like we'll see. We'll talk. Well, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I see that there were some comments on here. So thank you guys so much, and we will see you next week here on the Good Girl Podcast. All right, good night, everyone. I feel like I have to move this to shut it off.